What's up, everyone? Welcome to my podcast. It's the first time we've got professional audio quality. I'm very excited. My name's Sachin. I'm a business coach and spiritual mentor. This podcast is all about helping you to create a conscious lifestyle. And we do that by interviewing amazing guests like who we've got on today. His name's Shaft, and I'll let him introduce himself for you.
Sachin, thanks for having me.
This sounds way too professional for who we actually are.
So my name's Shaft Uddin. I'm highly Googleable. I'm a tantric practitioner. I'm a somatic therapist. And you can find me on sacredsexualawakening.com or Shaft Uddin on Instagram.
Dope. Okay, so I've been wanting to do this with you for over a year, or a lot longer than that, but officially since I started this for like over a year. And, you know, I think a lot of people who have seen your Vice pieces will be...
Got a trilogy now.
Yeah.
It's a box set pretty much. Then we've got to get a prequel, and then we've got the whole Marvel story sort out.
How did all of this start for you?
Hobbies. Or just finding different realities. So I'm a geek. I'm an artist. And all I've ever wanted is to be a superhero. So the first memory I have is going up to my brother's bedroom and picking up this little book, and it was like the X-Men, and I saw Wolverine, and I was like, oh wow, I was 4 years old, and I basically wanted to be Wolverine. And then Star Wars came out and everything, and I was like, I want to be a Jedi, and now I'm a sacred sexual Jedi, and I basically invested everything I have in being a superhuman. So I've learned all these different martial arts techniques, becoming multi-orgasmic, being an energy worker, being really good at like utilizing the body to, you know, have more bliss, more sensations, more pleasure in your life. And also, you know, finding this internal use of momentum to like fly, jump, and like do spins and stuff. So you just look cool.
Okay, so a lot of that, in my mind, straight away, I think, okay, it's very much to do with the body.
The whole thing is all about the body.
Right.
As I always say, Allah gave us a Ferrari. No one knows how to use this amazing, slick Ferrari because we're all stuck in the traffic jam of life called 9 to 5.
Ooh.
And no one's taken their Ferrari for a test drive. I don't live in this reality anymore, but I'm back to integrate. So I live in communities and bubbles where we take these Ferraris on a test drive. Like, it's incredible what you could do with your body. Like, you could literally turn back time. Just like Cher. If I could turn back time, if I could find a way. It's called Tantra.
Yeah, okay, so I've heard that people said Hinduism started with Tantra, and then after that, when it started to get divided, it got fucked up. What is that all about?
Well, you just think, oh, good old white people and their suppression. Hey, it's very clever what they've done. They basically suppressed it and they're selling it back to us. Colonialism.
Okay, so when I've heard exactly the same thing said. What happened? Like, what was it to start with?
So the tantric texts are a bunch of texts. They're exercises and things, and also Tantra was passed down from guru to the disciple and so on, and then eventually it was written down. So they're the actual texts. And then the tantric principles is not only just in Hinduism, it's in Buddhism. There's also elements in Sufism. Like it's literally in every single religion. Parts of Tantra. It's a practice. It's not a spirit. It's not like a religion. It's a practical thing for awakening. And then good old Britain turned up and suppressed everything in India. And then everyone became highly conditioned and suppressed. And then that caused that very powerful tool for awakening to be suppressed. I do a lot of work in India. Like me and my like business partners, we go to India and we work with the Indian men to help them overcome premature ejaculation. Teach them how to worship their wives, how to last longer in bed, and how to please their women. Out of all of the people from all of the places in the world, it's the Indian men who could drop into that level of devotion quicker than any other man. And these are like, these fat Indian looking people with mustaches and like breathing difficulties and diabetes. But they're the ones that could go into this space quickly because their core essence is enlightenment. Like that's where the bulk of enlightened people are coming from, because that's what India was made for. But then it got turned into like business, want to be like America, and capitalism took over, Christianity took over. Like there's a whole thing.
So
Even Bangladesh has a huge, vast amount of gurus and enlightened masters that came from there. So yeah,
let's talk about sex, because I don't really talk about it that much on this channel.
I love sex. Sex is great.
I think everyone does, man. We were built
That's
for it.
the thing about sex.
So, what is it about sex that has become so taboo? Like, why is it this way?
So we get our sexual education from like our friends or the media, and the media, they give us one side of what sex can be. So I was brought up on rom-coms and Disney. So I already had this warped perception of what a relationship be, what sex should be. And I was very much into, you complete me, I'm looking for my other half. So I was basically looking for codependency and toxic relationships, which is what pretty much the whole planet's in.
Same here.
So it was only until I discovered Tantra, and remember, when everyone says Tantra, oh, that's just orgies, isn't it? And that's just sex. Well, guess what? Where did you come from? Sex. If you understand sex, you understand life. If you understand where we came from, which is our mother's vaginas and vaginas in general, we learn how to worship where we came from and understand it on a like biological, chemical, spiritual level, you will eventually overcome all of the modern day illnesses such as depression, anxiety, loneliness, and addiction. Just by understanding vaginas.
Wow.
And your own dick. So there's also, like, the older Sanskrit word for vulva is yoni, which means sacred space. And the older Sanskrit word for penis is lingam, which means the shaft of light. What's my name and what do I do? You literally grow into your name. I'm Shaft and I'm a yoni worshipper.
Wow. So why do you think women have been demonized for so long for like saying, oh, she likes sex, so she's a whore?
Slut shaming.
Yeah, what is all that about? Because I don't get it.
The walk of shame. Well, I used to have a lot of sex in London, and do you know what I used to call it? The commute of pride.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. Changing the story around. So in my community, and this is a very special community, I live in the tantric community, not the spiritual community. That's completely different to the tantric community. Spiritual people, if you've ever seen the video by JP Spears or JP Sears, I can't remember his name.
Yes.
Ultra spiritual, that's what spiritual people are like. Tantric people are completely different. We're a bunch of renegades. We don't give a fuck. We accept everything. And we're the ones that are having way more sex, way more intimacy, and way more depth than the spiritual people. Yes, I am creating a divide.
I don't blame you.
It's only when because they're the ones that judge us the most. And this is why this is why me and my community, we create our own little bubbles. So we get punished, we get judged, we get called all sorts of names. Once upon a time, if a woman was seen as sexually awakened, she was burnt. If a man is seen as sexually awakened, they're a sexual predator. If a woman is seen as being sexually liberated, she's a slut. So all these things are happening by people who don't have access to sex.
I think so.
It's called
too.
jealousy.
Is that all that it is though?
I believe this to be the case. Do you know why? Because I was insecure, shy. I couldn't have access to women. I judged people because I was those people. Because I wanted sex. I wanted intimacy.
Me too.
I wanted to have that connection. I wanted to be like that dude that somehow had all the girls, and he must be manipulating them in some way, because then they must be young and naive because he somehow has all these women. Turns out these young and naive girls are actually quite old. Definitely not young. They all got businesses, and that guy just happens to be really nice. Do you know how I know? Because I approach those guys and say, hey, I want what you got. How are you doing this? And then they coach me.
Wow.
And then they teach me, and I teach others.
That's dope, man. You know, for me, I was a chubby kid for a long time. And even after that, like, okay, so I was a little insecure about having boy breasts, if you want to call it that. And I found it really hard to talk to girls for like 15 years. And the first time I kissed a girl, I was like, oh my God, I fucked it up completely.
How old were you?
14.
You beat me, I was 16.
I licked her nose by accident and she told everyone, and it really like it fucked with me for ages, man. But I can laugh about it now, it's funny.
Yeah, it's
but one thing that happened was I demonized sex. So I was really badly sexually abused when I was a kid. So I already had the bullshit going on about, oh, you're dirty if you want sex. But on top of that, like a lot of stuff that I saw, especially I was at university in my final year, that's when I was like talking to a lot more girls. Before that I was we're not even gonna get into that today, but whatever. So I got into this phase of my life where everyone around me, I had a lot of guys around me saying to me, you should be having loads of sex. But in my mind, I only wanted one girl and I ended up being with her and it was great. But they kept encouraging me to sleep with more and more and more and more women. And I didn't get it. Like, where does that come from, in your opinion?
It's called toxic masculinity.
I've heard that name being thrown around. I don't get it.
It's just immature men.
I think so too.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Yeah.
It's society. It's basically the media. The more women you have, more you're a player. But the more men that you have as a woman, you're a slut. Whereas in my community, when you have lots of sex, especially as a woman, do you know what they're called?
Goddesses.
Yep, and priestesses.
Wow.
Completely different story. There's also tribes in Africa where every year the tribe leader is chosen, and it's a matriarchal society. So the women are the ones that lead the tribes, and the woman who has the most amount of bracelets on her ankle is the winner to lead the tribe, and that woman is the one that has sex with the most amount of people that year. Each bracelet represents a warrior. She takes in their essence, and then she becomes the most powerful person in that village. I want to be a bracelet.
Okay, let's pause for a second, because this, to me personally, I'm all on board with let's liberate ourselves. Let's sleep with who we want. Let's not feel bad about numbers and all this other shit. However, I'm not down with just sleeping with someone because they're hot. And that's a personal preference. I'm not putting that on anyone else, not a judgment thing. But what's the line between healthy sexual interaction? Obviously, all of it's consensual. We're not going to go into the other stuff yet. Yeah. But what's the difference between healthy sexual interaction and when it starts to get out of balance?
Wow, check out sacredsexualawakening.com to find out. Or follow me on Instagram at Uddin. So this is my favorite thing. So I love sex. And when I say this, obviously people who aren't having that much sex, they just go, oh, he's a sex addict. So, and I always have to explain, do you like dancing? And they'd be like, yeah, are you addicted to dancing? And they'd be like, no, same thing. So it's just having a healthy hobby, but also a healthy hobby that heals you, a healthy hobby that has this tribe. Like I have a huge network of women that look after Shaft Uddin. The reason why I'm able to give to so much women, so much men, to help coach people to awaken sexually is because I've got a support network of Shaktis who are very strong, inspiring women that enrich my life. So that's my mantra. I do have, like when I'm in my bubbles and when I'm in flow and when I'm in my community, the Tantra communities, I do have sex 3 times a day with 3 different women. And it's amazing. People would say, oh God, you're losing energy. Oh, they're basically projecting their shit sex life onto me because they have no concept how to have healthy boundaries, how to have safer sex, how to communicate, and how to not ejaculate so you could keep on having as much sex as you want and get even younger and get more healthier, more vibrant. And also, Marvin Gaye was right. when he said sexual healing. Like, it is the most healing thing you'll do. The amount of suffering we have on this planet comes from a penis, well, genitals rubbing genitals, penis going into vagina, lingam, bumhole, whatever. Sex is happening, and it's destroying a lot of people's self-confidence. It's destroying a lot of people's relationships, self-esteem, and basically they project that onto the next relationship, and then they turn this thing called sex into a thing that has got so much story attached to it that it becomes unhealthy for them. For me and my community, the tantric community, very different. I gotta keep on saying this because we get demonized, we get like crucified on social media. Like, people don't understand what we're doing. But the ironic thing is, it's a missing piece of a puzzle. People start to, when they have their awakening, their crisis, their midlife crisis, or like a mental breakdown, they choose these very specific paths. They leave their job because it's too stressful. They need to sort out their brain because it's fucked and fried. What do? Some kind of meditation, Vipassana, something like that. Once they've like able to balance the left brain, right brain, let go of the depression, anxiety, and stress, they become a little bit more present. Then they go, oh, I forgot about my body. Then they think about doing some kind of yoga. I hate yoga, by the way. Definitely not yogi. I'm tantric and I'm a superhuman, but I've got other practices which I won't talk about because they're secret.
Okay.
But I got a body like this. And then once they have the mind-body connection, the last bit of the puzzle they leave till very last is their sex. Then they come to me, and then they come to our community, and then we welcome them with open arms because they've let go of judgment around sexuality. That's when they start to feel a bit more complete, because no other practice out there teaches you about that relationship with yourself, and which leads to the relationship with other people. And when you have that great relationship with other people, you become fearless. You start to live a life beyond your dreams, and the bulk of the work is not sex in Tantra. It's about mummy and daddy issues, how to heal that so you can actually become the mother and father of your own inner child. Once you know how to look after yourself and you're complete in yourself, masculine, feminine, left brain, right brain, all that gubbins, then you can have sex 3 times a day and feel enlightened as much as you want.
That's dope, man. We were talking a little bit about that before we came in, about mummy and daddy issues. We won't go into it right now. There's something else I want to ask you about. Boundaries in polyamory. Now, me personally, I'm not open to being polyamorous. I don't judge it. I'm just not
because you've never experienced it as well.
I haven't. Yeah, that's true, but I'm not going to lie to you. I'm intrigued by the idea of potentially having sex with more than one partner in one interaction. Part of
threesomes is my thing. That's my speciality.
So, okay, let's talk about
Thank you, Krishna.
Let's talk about, man. How do you have these polyamorous interactions but also maintain boundaries?
Okay. So when people go into open relationships, and I don't trust anyone that says, hi, I'm in an open relationship. That's just like you've literally just copying people in your community, and you've literally done no research into what polyamory is. You've literally done no courses about it or watched any videos. You just decided to do it because you're a bit bored in your relationship. And some people, when they say, I'm in an open relationship or polyamorous, they're just single. They're not using relationships as a spiritual practice like I am and people in my community. Again, tantric people are different to spiritual people, even though we're all spiritual. But it's like, what percentage are you tantric and what percentage are you spiritual? I don't identify myself as spiritual. So that's not my thing. I'm just doing something that makes me feel more alive, which is enlightenment through sexual activities and other stuff. So what we do, we learn. We invest a lot of time and money into how to, first of all, researching what relationship dynamics are there. Everyone's heard of swingers. Open relationships, polyamory, polyandry, polyemotional, unicorns. Like, there's like all these different types of relationships. All people know about is monogamy, cheating, swingers. No one knows about primary, secondaries, or any other relationship dynamics because no one's done the research. It's like trying to learn yoga and being really, really good at it by just saying, I do yoga, and then you're just trying to figure it out in your head. Not gonna work.
Yeah.
We've done years of living and breathing in polyamorous communities to develop a language. I bet you've never heard of the word compersion. Yeah.
Never.
So I'm going to let people just Google that. Compersion.
Does it spell how it sounds?
Yeah, just do it phonetically. Compersion.
Okay.
So I'm not going to talk about that, but that is one of our main things. That's how we overcame everything. That holy word, compersion.
I'm really tempted to Google it right now while you're here.
So the one word that not a lot of people have heard of unless you're polyamorous, and remember, open relationships, they haven't heard of this either. Compersion. So what we do is we learn about the fundamental thing about being polyamorous and being in different relationship dynamics, or non-monogamous, or whatever label you want to give yourself is. We have got one superhuman ability. Do you know what that is?
The first thing that popped into my head was breathing, but I don't think that's it.
Breathing helps during, especially during when all your lovers are on full moon and they're all on the period. You really got to breathe heavily and deeply.
Do you know when you talk?
Do you know how hard it is to manage that many women?
But
do you think it's easy? Do you know how many people are suffering with just one relationship? Do you think it's fun having 2, 3, 4, 5? It's amazing. That's why I do it.
Yeah, I was
but
just
you need
about
a
to
lot
say.
of work. You need a time. You need a schedule. You need to have a watch. I don't wear a watch anymore. But you need to have a diary. Like, it's a lot of work, and you got to put work into these relationships. Else they're just going to be. Else you're just single and fucking around. It's not polyamory. Polyamory means to be able to love many. And with my lovers, we are in deep committed relationships. And the way we do this is through the tools. Like, I created a tool system called the Tools of Transparent Love. With every relationship I have, I do a ritual. The first thing we do is we make an agreement. We get into our phones and we write down an agreement and a contract. Most people don't do that because they think it's
doesn't
weird.
sound that sexy.
No. Guess what? It's the sexiest thing you'll do. In one day or a few hours, you'll go deeper than you would do in 3 months. Do you know what we do when we sit in front of each other?
Get honest.
Get honest. I would say, so, my new lover, what is your intention for this relationship? And then she'll answer. And then I actively listen without going, yes, me too. Oh, me too. Yeah, great, yeah. And then stop her flow. I just listen. And then when she finishes, she says, shaft. And I'd be like, thank you for sharing. What is your relationship? What is your intention for our relationship? And I'd be like, blah, 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 blah. And then we move down these lists of questions. What is your intention for this relationship? What are your fears for this relationship? Now, already we're talking about vulnerability and authenticity. What are your desires? What do you want to, I like to call it like a menu of what you want to do together. What are your boundaries? No one has a clue what the fuck boundaries are. And when I say, what are your boundaries to people who aren't tantric, it's like, I ain't got any. I'm like, brilliant. Amazing. And that's why the Me Too movement happened. So I actually have to explain to them what boundaries are. And that's a whole workshop in itself. Check out my workshop. Come to it on Friday the 18th at Aho Studios, Intro to Goddess Worship. And I'll tell you all about boundaries. And then we move into, do you have any STIs? Sexual health is sexy. I need to know. If you're going to be sleeping with everyone, you need to know how healthy they are. When was the last time they got tested? Have they ever had anything? If they've been tested, have they had unprotected sex since? If they have, is it with a regular partner? Can you see already this is a lot deeper than a normal hookup? And number 6, what will this relationship mean to you? So if you're hooking up with someone, you might be just having sex. And one person be like, oh, that's a great one night stand. And the other person was like, wow, I found a man of my dreams. Imbalance. Do you see how this is already going deeper and allowing more intimacy to happen because we're able to share our vulnerability straight away?
Yeah, I started.
And you
being-
said that wasn't sexy.
well, no, I was only joking.
I
but-
know, but this is what a lot of people
No,
say.
that's what I said it because I've heard it. Like
Exactly, yeah. This is why I'm reinforcing the fact this is way sexier.
I'm glad you did, and I'm nodding so much that my neck's probably gonna start hurting. But because when I started getting honest with every woman that I meet, like especially in the last year, it's changed everything. Like those layers of intimacy, you start off with like, my name's Sachin, what's your name? Jennifer. Okay, that's nice. And you can be on like level 1 and 3 for like 6 months. Some people are still there after like 30 years.
Yeah.
But I felt like the intimacy ramped up like 100-fold when I said, okay, I want this to be a conscious relationship. I want me and you to define what is a no-no, what's a hell yeah. And I have very different questions to yours, but I think
What questions do you have?
mine, number one, okay, intention is very important. Like, do you want to just have sex? Because I'm not down with that. I've got a lot of things to do. And I know it sounds rude, but like my hobbies are most important thing in my life. Sex
Same
is
here,
probably
which is sex.
okay, so sex is probably like 4th on the list in terms of my life important stuff. But it is important, like in a relationship. So in intention, what do you want out of this? So what is it? Is this like a 3-month thing? Are you looking very short term? Are you looking long term? Do you have children? Do you want to have children? Like stuff like that, I think is really important to ask. But the most important thing is like what's important for you in your life, because I can't be with someone sexually or around them normally if they're not driven by something that's a bit more than I just like to go to work and go to sleep, because I feel like I'm going to take that on from them, and that scares the shit out of me. So I love that you make it really important to have agreements.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Also, action is everything. So, after that, that's just a bunch of words that we write down. Joint intentions is also something really cool as well. But how do we implement all of these? So, it's all a bit airy-fairy at the moment, but what practical actions can we do to sustain this level of intimacy? And that's where, like, the real stuff happens. Like, do we do morning practices together? Like, do we do, like, every morning we have a coffee and we have a 3-minute share? Like, these types of things. So that's really important. And then there's another ritual. What do you like from making out to making love? So no one really knows about their own body. No one really knows how to ask for what they want. No one really knows about a female's yoni or the anatomy, which I love, by the way. This is why I worship women, and I love the fact that there's so much stuff you could do with each other's genitals. So with women, there's the G-spot, there's the A-spot, the Kundalini area, the cervix. There's like all these amazing places that are highly orgasmic, but no one knows what they are, where they are. Come to my workshop on Friday the 18th and find out. And basically, especially if you've got a lot of partners, you need to know how they like to be kissed, how they like to be touched. Do they like firm touches, light touches? How do they like their breasts to be touched, firm, lightly? Like, you need to navigate this amazing Ferrari, but they also got to tell you how to do it. So if they tell you how to do it, you're going to forget. So my work is about embodiment. They need to imprint it into your body. So the way this fun ritual works is, and it's a really fun game as well, is let's say I'm telling my beloved, okay, I really like to be kissed slowly. Then I will like do it onto her like this and kiss like this, gentle lips first, and then get the tongue in there and go really slowly and deep, and then I show it, and then she has to do it back to me. And we go from there to how I like to have sex. So I will make love to her how I like to be made love to, which is like a fluid dance and a movement meditation type thing. Again, this is so far removed from Pornhub, so far removed from normal what sex education is. This is like a dance, an orchestra, like our bodies are our instruments. It's profound healing. Once you learn how to drive these Ferraris, you're not gonna do it any other way. So I teach them that, and then they have to replay it back to me, and then I know about them, and then we switch. And then that's another level of intimacy, which is a day-long practice in itself, because you got to go first, and then you got to teach them, and then you got to replay it back, and then you switch. And then there's a final piece to this puzzle, which is what happens when it ends. And that's the relationship ritual.
Ooh, I like that.
Every single person I've worked with, and including myself, have had their lives defined by really shit people, which their genitals have met each other and it's destroyed their lives. It's mainly because we can't let go of that story. We hold on to it and it defines us. How do I know this? Because it happened to me time and time again. My patterns was best friends sleeping with my fiancés, I was about to get married, or girlfriends. And I was deeply, deeply monogamous. So like I was really into monogamy. And then I found Tantra. Before that, I found the Burning Man world and polyamory, and it didn't make any sense to me. And I was like, how do you overcome jealousy? How do you like, this is just fucking weird. And I had my heart destroyed by a woman that I loved. But I wanted to be monogamous with her and she wanted to be polyamory. So I would like slut shame her going, stop sleeping with my friends, you're a horrible person. When she clearly said, I'm polyamorous. And I didn't listen to her because I was in love with her. I was like, but I'm monogamous. So that didn't work out and it ended up really bad. But I was able to let go of that story because I did certain rituals. Every lover is a blessing and a lesson. You got together for a reason, which was love. With time, things fucked up a bit. Things got really bad and then you ended. But it's only until sometimes lifetimes or years later do you look back at it and go, wow, I'm glad that happened because there's no way I want to attract that energy ever again.
Yep.
So the way you do this, and I do this with a lot of lovers when I'm moving from country to country. Like there was the best one I did was like when I had 3 of my lovers lined up. I said, okay, you're next, you're next, you're next. Because all my lovers are friends. And my lovers are lovers with each other as well. I'm very blessed. And the construct for the relationship ritual is one person expresses gratitude. Thank you for all the lessons you've given me. Thank you for coming into my life and teaching me how to love myself and how to have stronger boundaries. You know, things like that. And then you close your eyes and you visualize all this energy coming back into you, your energetic stories, basically. So you're grounded, centered, aligned to your being again, you're whole again. And then you say, what's mine is mine. What's yours is yours. I release you. And then you switch. And then you have a very light, energetic field. So the reason why I could make love to so many beautiful women all the time is because I have no drama, no luggage, I'm just in peace and harmony with all of my women because they all know about each other. It's not cheating. These women are supporting each other as well. That's a lot of emotional weight. If I just had to deal with all these women, I would go batshit crazy.
When you say deal with, do you mean in a monogamy kind of way?
Like I said, one relationship is hard enough. And people are going around telling their emotional victim stories about their relationships.
I love how you said that, emotional victim story.
Exactly. That man ain't no good for you. I'm just like blessed to be in love with my best friends who are female. And we work together. We often live together and then we co-create together and run retreats together and we run businesses together. And when it ends, we're still best friends. We still run business together. And sometimes we still have sex. Do you know how fortunate I am to have that dynamic?
When you say fortunate, I look at it as like you created it.
I created it because I put a lot of work and effort into this because do you know why sex is my number one priority?
Please tell me.
Because sex isn't just sex for me. Sex is one of the quickest way to reach enlightenment is through the body. It's one of the most profound ways I learned how to communicate with my mum and dad. Because I'm having to hold space for a lot of women, which makes me excellent at conflict resolution. Which makes me an excellent space holder for my very strict devout Muslim parents and sharing my stories with them. Sex is connected to a human being that has a soul and a heart and lives and dreams and like is a human, which makes me connect to humans on a deeper, more profound level rather than this superficial level. Sex has healed me more than any other medicine. I've been ill for a long time. Like I was ill for 2 years because of chronic pain in my body. Do you know what healed me?
Sex.
Exactly. And there is a scientific research done around sex. This is also on the NHS, by the way. You can check it out on their website. The health benefits of healthy sex, especially tantric lovemaking, which is completely different to sex, it's like the healthy benefits of dancing. You're able to become more empathic. You're able to have better boundaries, which makes you more... you're able to read body language better. You're able to have a stronger immune system because sexual energy ignites so much stuff in your brain that it can cure a lot of mental illness very, very quickly. Talking therapy does help, obviously. I'm not disregarding that. But somatic therapy, because everything's in the body, is a lot easier to work through once you understand it. And especially everything's related to sexuality. Everything on this planet is related to sex. Like, we live on a very orgasmic planet. Like, every sound you hear in nature is a call to get laid.
You know, I've never looked at it like that before.
Mother Nature is one sexy mama. She is fully orgasmic. And like, I'm connected to the earth now. Like, I've done a lot of weird practices. And I could literally have an earthgasm.
What's the weirdest practice you've done?
I mean, obviously I don't ejaculate anymore. Like, that's quite hard to achieve.
Okay, I'm going to come on to that in a second, but tell me about the weirdest thing.
Drinking menstrual blood, like doing sex magic ritual with like 50 people at midnight, listening to Lakshmi mantras, like huge, gigantic orgies where people are strictly no drink and no drugs.
Wow.
Connecting on a conscious level. And it's basically, we're bringing back the sacred sexual arts of Vikings, of the Isis temples, of the Hindu temples, where we're using sexual energy to create the life beyond our dreams. Like, I retired at 35. I don't need to work anymore. But I kind of like got bored of like just chilling out and talking about the simulation and stuff. So like, I'm back in business again. Find me on sacredsexualawakening.com.
Okay, so let's look at this not ejaculating. To
Yeah.
a lot of men, and even probably to some women who are well, most of the audience here are women, which I think is quite cool. Because most of,
Have you ever heard of a yoni massage? Come to my workshop.
I think a lot of women that I've spoken to in my early journey when I was just starting out, I didn't really talk to a lot of women about sex unless, full stop. But now most of my friends are women, and I get to have really great in detail conversations with them about, who was your last lover? What, like my best friends I talk to about it. And something that comes up for me is when someone says, oh, he's a selfish lover. And he just wants to get his pleasure, ejaculate, and it's finished.
As Osho once said, men are just masturbating in women's vaginas.
I've heard that a lot. And that's, for me, it's all about... I'm not hugely experienced with sex because I had my own hang-ups for such a long time. I was abstinent for almost 3 years. And I used to demonize it, be like, oh no, you're desiring women. That's below you. You shouldn't do that.
This is why we get judged by a lot of people.
Yeah, well, I was sitting on the judgment high horse for a long time, being like, no, that's bad. And it gave me a lot of hang-ups. And then when I came into this realm of like, let's not judge.
Good, well done.
Dude, it was...
People die from judgment. Like, they get crucified on, like, and social media crucifixion. I know this because that happens to me.
It's very sad. But I know from both sides of it now, because now I'm being judged by other people.
Exactly!
And it's weird. Like, I never thought I would be the guy on the receiving end of it. But one thing I learned was the power of not ejaculating. I can't say I'm doing it like you are because I don't know how you're doing it, but I definitely do ejaculate when I have sex. One thing it taught me...
Feels great though, doesn't it?
It does. But I learned how to do it with, what's the term?
Make a wish?
Like in a reciprocal fashion, right? So like I changed all of my ideas around sex from like it's pleasure based and all I'm seeking is pleasure to what's the experience like with that we're both having. And like talking to your partner a lot more, that stopped me from, I don't know what the term is, but it just made me more conscious of like, okay, I'm close. Let me just slow down a second and make sure that she's still enjoying this. Tell me what the no ejaculation thing is about.
Non-ejaculation. We don't ejaculate, we injaculate. So when I first got into Tantra, I said to my mate Hardstar, I said, mate, I really want to get into Tantra. Do you know what the first thing he said to me was? That means you don't ejaculate. And I said, fuck that, I'm not doing that. And I didn't do Tantra for another year. I was like, I don't want to do that. Why would I want to do that? Ejaculation is the best thing in life. So it was only until I met these incredible women who looked like they were 30, but they were in their 50s and 60s, did I start to change my perception around Tantra. I said, how come you guys are so young? How come your vaginas are so tight? What's going on? And they said, we're tantric. And I'm like, what does that even mean? And they said, you'll find out one day. I'm like, I want to know right now. I want what you're having. So they taught me about how to raise your sexual energy up, subliming the energy. I paid £30,000 and half a decade's worth of like learning to become multi-orgasmic. All my life I wanted to be like a woman because they had all of the pleasure, all of the orgasms and all of the things that I wanted, which was being multi-orgasmic. It's only when I tapped into my inner feminine that I discovered, I have the same things as them. But it turns out that I actually have more. Men can be more in their masculine and feminine than women because we have something connected to our nervous system that can penetrate and receive. Our penis and our bum holes. Our G-spots are our prostates. And when we start to slow things down, we can actually start to feel where the tingles are coming from, where the orgasms are actually coming from. And then eventually, with enough self-practice, you could separate ejaculation with orgasm. And when you take the goal out of sex, because everything, especially around media and everything like that, and porn, there is a goal. Let's say you're starting your Ferrari, and this destination is orgasm. Everyone revs their engine and goes up there as quick as possible, leaving everyone behind. In Tantra, we do something completely different.
You take it for a spin.
Yeah. You go on a journey. When you let go of that goal, things start to change. Sex isn't the main goal anymore. Like, you'll have sex, then you chill out for a little bit, then you do other stuff with your hands, fingers, mouths, and explore each other's bodies, and you have sex again. And then sex isn't a 3.5 minute thing that ends and women feel frustrated about, and men roll over and go to sleep. It actually becomes a shamanic journey. It actually becomes something so incredibly beautiful, which is like a dance, and that's the art of tantric lovemaking. Like, to be able to flow, read each other's body language, raise the energy up, separate the orgasm and the ejaculation, and eventually you literally don't have any point to ejaculate because all that is the feeling of semen going through your penis and spilling out. What you do have on the other side of that is when you start to slow things down with breath, sound and movement and other very interesting practices, you are able to have third eye-gasms. That's an orgasm in the third eye, which awakens you even more. Heartgasms. Imagine an orgasm down there, but in your heart. The energetic residue of that lasts for days.
Yeah, I had that on mushrooms.
Yeah, beautiful. You can have that sober with sex.
Yeah, that you just saying that like made me trip for a second. I was like, what? Because I realized how powerful that one was.
Yeah. So what we're doing is we're no longer addicted to anything. Do you know why?
Because you're acquiring it without having...
Exactly. We're getting human connection. This is the one practice out of all the spiritual practices that allows you to connect with other people because you've learned how to connect with yourself. You also become multi-orgasmic. You have full body orgasms, valley orgasms, become a multi-orgasmic being. Like, you become a very powerful individual where you're no longer a selfish lover, but you're there to serve, to allow each other to like, I call it orgasm tennis. Like, I need like minimum 3 orgasms. And like, do you know what my favorite sort of orgasm is? Because I've experienced hundreds of thousands of different orgasms now. Trauma release orgasms. It's where you cry hysterically during sex. And obviously these women I'm with are like superhumans as well, so they're not going to judge me. Like I said, I'm in the Tantra community. By the way, it sounds exclusive, but guess what? everyone's tantric and everyone's already enlightened. So just let go of the judgments and your perceptions and projections and judging me for having perfect breasts, and just start to love yourself and start accepting other people's way of living. I got started on the other day in East London.
In London?
Yeah,
for
yeah.
what?
In Upton Park for being so good looking.
No way.
What, bruv? What do you think you're doing? Like, I do martial arts, I'm actually all right. And I was like, I gotta get a new nose piercing. I can't be bothered with this. I got another meeting. I'm like, off. So it's brilliant.
Wow. You know, the one thing that I didn't realize was fucking me up so much was the judgment. It's only when I saw, okay, people in my community are judging me for me wanting to leave this stuff, and there's so many tiers and layers of judgment. And okay, I'm not perfect, like I've probably got loads more layers to work through.
I'm perfect. You're all perfect.
There's loads of layers that I can see that
Give it a few years.
Yeah, potentially, like I can, okay, not right now I can't see myself diving into polyamory, but
I'm not asking anyone to be polyamorous. It's not part of tantra, by the way. I just want to make that very clear.
No, I'm down with it, man. But like I can now see like how I had a certain idea of it painted by other people that made me see, I'm not down with that. Still, like I don't care if other people want to do it. That's up to them. But for me, the main concern was like cultivating the right circle, because
environment is everything.
You can have great interactions with people, but you know, let's say Amy is not all right with you seeing Jennifer, or you're not all right with Jennifer seeing Amy, and you know you've got some issues there. I used to be the most jealous person in the fucking world. Even if someone looks at each other,
self-worth,
exactly, it was in the fucking toilet if I didn't have any. And what I've seen through this journey of releasing those judgments and embracing my self-love relationship, it's been beautiful to liberate yourself, to say, okay, I have a desire to sleep with someone. Let's find out a little bit more about that before we dive straight into it. And that's made sex way more intimate for me, whereas before it was very much like smashing your genitals together. Someone's like, we're both like making animal noises, and then we go to sleep for a bit.
Terrible. So there's a level of energy to everything. Money, sex, food. They're just things. And they could be the high vibration of it or the low vibration of it. The majority of the planet only know about junk food and shit food, money being bad, sex being like a form of stress release. People don't know about, you know, high vibrational foods, that you eat food like it's your medicine. They don't know about money being the highest form of self-love. That's another podcast and another workshop. And sex being the most healing thing you could do for your body to reach any state of perfect state of being. Like, it is the holy grail, in my opinion, of enlightenment. You become fearless when you overcome your self-worth issues, your fear of abandonment, your fear of rejection. You become bulletproof. You become like a tantric rock star. You become a sacred sexual Jedi. And that's the type of people I work with. That's a place where I just spat all over my arm. And that's a place...
That's not a tantric practice.
Well, it actually can be. I live in a community where we piss on each other. It's brilliant.
Whoa.
So,
man, we got to do like 7 more of these, because
I know you really do.
I need to, when you're... Okay, I know you're not here that often, but we actually have to wrap up like in a couple of minutes.
Right. So the one bit of thing I would say is check out my website.
all of the links are going to be in the description. But one thing I do want to encourage people to do is send you questions about sex.
Yes, please.
I am okay. I've been called a prude before because I know one type of sex, which is heterosexual. There's a couple of positions, and that's about
There's
it.
4 positions that everyone does: man on top, woman on top, doggy. And if they're really, really drunk, reverse cowgirl, because they saw it on Pornhub. Whereas you could do 365 moves. And I've got the Shafty Sutra that you could also do, which involve the reverse sexorcism, levitation. Like, I got amazing moves, and you need to be really strong to be able to have good sex. You need to have a stamina and a healthy diet, and like learn how to breathe. Like, there's so much you need to do to become a sacred sexual Jedi.
Well, that's what I want people to contact you about, because I'm definitely not someone to give sex advice. I can talk about relationships all day long. That's great.
Sex and relationship is the same thing, in my opinion.
But
Like,
you come at this from such a different way of looking at it, and
it's
obviously
love.
different experience.
That's all it is. Every single woman I'm having sex with, I have to be in love with them, unless they're paying me.
Yo, you're gonna get me onto like you're gonna be on here like 6-7 more times easily.
Well, I'm here till November the 2nd before I leave to find love in Sweden. So please get me on.
We'll do it. We'll probably do another one before you
I'd
go.
love to. I'd really enjoyed this.
Thank you for being here. I'm sorry we don't have that much time. Next time I'll book out a lot more time because we got a lot more to talk about.
Great.
Thank you everyone for joining us. You know, you can catch podcasts every Monday, and I will see you all next week. Peace.
Yeah, thank you very much. And remember, you're all sacred sexual Jedis. You're all tantric and you're already all enlightenment. Just chill out.